Has Michael van Gerwen secretly been bending one of darts' most overlooked rules? Right in front of millions of fans? Accusations are flying. Evidence is mounting, and yet nothing seems to change. Is this one of darts' greatest ever players cleverly exploiting a loophole? Or is there more to the story? Let's dive deep into this controversial debate that's quietly dividing the darts community. You've probably never heard of darts' mysterious exclusion zone, but it might just be the most important rule you didn't know existed. Created after a heated argument at the 2002 World Championship between legendary players Rod Harrington and Keith Deller. Today, this zone isn't merely decorative, it's officially defined as 300 millimeters on either side of the oki and 900 millimeters directly behind it. Players must throw their darts, quickly retrieve them, and exit this space promptly to avoid distracting their opponent. Crucially, referees have the explicit power to penalize any player repeatedly entering or lingering in this restricted area. Yet despite these clear rules and the presence of dedicated referees, violations sometimes go unnoticed or unpunished. And as we'll soon see, Michael van Gerwen may have found himself right in the middle of this controversy. But why haven't the officials stepped in? In recent years, fans have started noticing something suspicious about Michael van Gerwen's positioning during matches, and they've been extremely vocal about it online. Videos and images circulating across social media clearly show MVG frequently placing part of his foot inside the exclusion zone exactly when his opponents are preparing to throw. To casual viewers, it might look insignificant, but hardcore darts fans know just how much subtle psychological pressure these minor infractions could exert. Reddit threads and Twitter posts have repeatedly highlighted Van Gerwen's habit of keeping his toes on or slightly over the exclusion line. Fans have even debated whether this subtle tactic deliberately intimidates opponents, disrupting their focus and rhythm at critical moments. Some argue it's purely accidental, a minor habit developed over years of rapid play, while others firmly believe MVG knows exactly what he's doing. But here's a puzzling detail. Despite clear visual evidence, this controversy hasn't widely made headlines in professional darts circles until recently. Why haven't other players or officials consistently spoken up about such an apparent infringement? Is it fear, respect, or simply ignorance? As this controversy continues to build momentum, one thing is clear. Michael van Gerwen's foot placement is causing a growing divide among darts enthusiasts. And recently, one prominent professional finally confronted him directly, sparking a dramatic moment on stage that nobody expected. The controversy reached a boiling point during the 2023 World Championship semi-final clash between Michael van Gerwen and Dimitri Vandenberg. With millions of fans watching closely, tensions suddenly exploded mid-match. Dimitri, visibly disturbed, abruptly stepped back from the oki and turned sharply towards Van Gerwen. Cameras caught him glaring directly at Michael, clearly frustrated, as they exchanged heated words. So, what exactly happened? Footage revealed Van Gerwen had yet again positioned his foot partially within the exclusion zone, precisely as Dimitri prepared to throw his crucial darts. For Dimitri, this was no minor annoyance. It was a serious disruption at a pivotal moment. Despite his clear frustration, Van Gerwen stood his ground, refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing. In the post-match interviews, Michael shockingly denied Dimitri's accusations, instead suggesting the Belgian was merely upset about supposed stomping rather than zone infringement. But the camera evidence was unmistakable. MVG's foot clearly lingered within the forbidden area multiple times, raising eyebrows across the darts community. The incident sparked fierce debate among fans and professionals alike. Was Van Gerwen knowingly applying subtle psychological pressure, or was Dimitri simply misinterpreting a minor positioning habit? Whatever the truth, the controversy surrounding MVG's tactics had suddenly taken center stage. Yet this fiery confrontation wasn't an isolated event. It was about to lead to even bigger questions about Van Gerwen's conduct, as another dramatic incident awaited just around the corner. In the aftermath of his tense confrontation with Dimitri Vandenberg, Michael van Gerwen firmly stood his ground. In press interviews following the match, MVG dismissed the accusations of encroaching on the exclusion zone outright. Instead, he claimed Dimitri's frustration wasn't about foot positioning at all, but about alleged stomping, suggesting the Belgian player was simply misinterpreting things. But here's the issue. Slow-motion replays and close-up camera angles tell a different story. Footage from multiple sources clearly shows Van Gerwen's foot consistently inside the exclusion zone at critical moments. Even casual viewers, let alone seasoned darts enthusiasts, could clearly spot these infringements. Despite Michael's denial, evidence mounted rapidly, fueling heated online debates about his true intentions. Fans started questioning why Van Gerwen seemed dismissive of these accusations. Was he genuinely unaware, or was his response a deliberate deflection tactic to divert attention from the real issue? Either way, MVG's denial only intensified the controversy and deepened suspicions about his gameplay habits. The darts community was now deeply split. Was Dimitri overreacting, or had he bravely pointed out a genuine issue plaguing the game? Van Gerwen's vague counterclaims about stomping simply weren't enough to convince skeptics, and as scrutiny intensified, many began digging into past incidents, finding similar patterns and confrontations that had largely gone unnoticed until now. And just when fans thought they'd seen enough controversy, another shocking event was about to ignite the debate all over again, this time on one of the biggest dart stages in the world. The controversy around Michael Van Gerwen's foot placement hit new heights during one of the most intense matches of the 2024 Premier League darts season. His showdown against teenage sensation Luke Littler in Berlin. The two were tied at 5-5, and the match had come down to a final, deciding leg. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Littler, throwing against the darts, found himself with a golden opportunity, 80 points for the match in. He stepped up confidently and nailed a treble 20, leaving his favorite double 10 with 2 darts in hand. But then something strange happened. Littler suddenly stepped back, the camera angle shifted, and what fans saw was impossible to ignore. There, at the front of the Oki, was Van Gerwen's foot, clearly crossing into the exclusion zone. It was one of the most critical moments of the match, and MVG's positioning was now right in the spotlight. Littler, possibly rattled, missed both darts at double 10. Van Gerwen pounced on the opportunity, sealed the match, and walked away with a dramatic win. Social media lit up within minutes. Clips of the moment went viral, and fans were quick to point out the infringement. How was this missed? Many asked. Why didn't the referees say anything? But even more surprising, Littler himself made no complaint. He didn't mention it post-match, nor did the referees step in during or after the leg. This wasn't an isolated incident either. Just a week later, during another Premier League night in Glasgow, viewers spotted MVG once again standing with his toes just over the line while his opponent was preparing to throw. With every match, the evidence kept stacking up. Despite all this, there has been no official warning, no penalty, and not even an acknowledgement from the PDC. So what's really going on? Are the referees turning a blind eye? Or is this rule only enforced when it's convenient? As fans continued to dig deeper, past footage and player reactions began to paint a broader picture. It turns out, this wasn't the first time MVG's in-game behavior had raised eyebrows, and some legends of the sport had already called him out years ago. Michael Van Gerwen may be known for his explosive talent and rapid-fire style, but this isn't the first time he's been accused of stepping over the line, literally. Back in the 2017 World Match Play quarterfinal, MVG faced off against the sport's ultimate legend, Phil Taylor. What unfolded wasn't just a battle of skill, it was also a clash over sportsmanship. During the 7th leg of that match, Taylor appeared visibly frustrated after missing several doubles. But instead of simply shaking it off, he turned and pointed back toward Van Gerwen, seemingly accusing him of stepping into the exclusion zone, or worse, stomping to distract him. It was a rare moment. Even for someone with Taylor's experience and composure, MVG's behavior had clearly gotten under his skin. Taylor wasn't the only one to notice. In the years since, numerous players have hinted at MVG's intimidating presence on stage. While most have stopped short of direct accusations, the implications are hard to ignore. Van Gerwen's dominance, speed, and intensity can be overwhelming, especially for less experienced opponents. And for lower-ranked players, calling him out publicly could feel like career suicide. This unspoken hierarchy may explain why so few players have confronted MVG about possible rule breaches. Phil Taylor had the confidence and credibility to challenge him. Dimitri Vandenberg did too, albeit to lesser effect. But others? They stay silent, perhaps out of respect, fear, or simply doubt that officials will back them up. And that silence might be exactly why Van Gerwen continues to operate in this gray area of the game. Whether intentional or not, his presence alone changes the atmosphere. Players are often so focused on not upsetting the rhythm or avoiding awkward confrontations that they let potential violations slide. But the question remains, why haven't the officials acted? Are they reluctant to challenge the sport's biggest star, or is there something deeper going on behind the scenes? As we'll see next, even when referees do get involved, it doesn't always play out the way you'd expect. If the rules around the exclusion zone are so clear, Why aren't they enforced consistently, especially when the alleged offender is one of the sport's biggest names? To answer that, we need to look at how referees actually handle these situations and the surprising moments when they have stepped in. One of the most revealing examples came during the 2022 Players' Championship Finals in a match between Raul John Rodriguez and Joe Cullen. Midway through the match, the referee abruptly intervened. Not against Cullen, but against Rodriguez, warning him about how he was walking in the exclusion zone after throwing. The twist? Cullen himself hadn't complained. In fact, after the match, Cullen backed Rodriguez, saying he hadn't been distracted at all and believed the timing of the referee's intervention was poorly judged. The impact on Rodriguez was immediate and visible. Shaken by the warning, he appeared flustered, his rhythm collapsed, and he ended up losing the match in disappointing fashion. The moment sparked backlash online, with fans questioning why the referee chose to act in that instance, and whether the warning had more negative impact than any actual rule-breaking. That incident raises an uncomfortable truth. Enforcing the exclusion zone rule is tricky. It's subjective. It relies on referee discretion, real-time judgment, and often pressure from players themselves. At the center of this growing debate lies a critical question. Is Michael Van Gerwen knowingly bending the rules to gain an edge, or is his foot placement just a byproduct of his unique playing style? There's no denying that MVG thrives on rhythm. His rapid-fire approach, his ability to build momentum, and the way he paces himself between turns are all essential parts of his game. For Van Gerwen, keeping close to the Oki, even hovering near the exclusion zone, might not be about intimidation or gamesmanship. It could simply be a matter of staying in the zone, mentally and physically. After all, milliseconds matter at the highest level, and even a small break in tempo can throw a player off balance. This might explain why he tends to remain close to the Oki, even before his opponent finishes throwing. It's not about distraction, it's about preparation. Getting to the line quicker, keeping his adrenaline up, staying locked in. Still, the fact remains, regardless of intention, standing inside the exclusion zone while your opponent is throwing, even slightly, is a rule violation. The problem is, when it's just a toe over the line, it becomes incredibly difficult to distinguish between an innocent habit and subtle gamesmanship. Supporters of MVG argue that he's never made any dramatic movements, never deliberately disrupted anyone, and certainly doesn't need to cheat. His record speaks for itself. But critics say that even the smallest infringements, especially when repeated over time, add up. If left unchecked, they risk setting a dangerous precedent for what's acceptable on stage. And while other players might occasionally cross the line too, they often receive warnings, fines, or at least public scrutiny. So why does Van Gerwen seem to avoid it all? Is it star privilege? Referee hesitance? Or is it just that he's mastered the art of pushing boundaries without quite breaking them? One thing's for sure. Whether he means to or not, MVG is walking a very fine line, literally and figuratively, and it's forcing fans, players, and officials alike to ask themselves what kind of behavior should be tolerated in a sport built on precision, respect, and fair play. But even with all of this debate, one thing remains unclear. If Van Gerwen isn't cheating, is he just better at playing the system? Now, let's wrap it all up. So, is Michael Van Gerwen cheating or just playing smart? The evidence is there. Toe over the line moments caught on camera, visible frustration from opponents, and a pattern of behavior that's sparked debate across the darts world. As fans, we're left with a debate that won't go away anytime soon. Is this calculated gamesmanship, or an innocent habit from one of the game's greats? Should referees tighten their grip, or should we accept that in elite sports, the margins are always blurred? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Van Gerwen simply pushing the limit, or stepping over it? And don't forget, if you want more untold stories, behind-the-scenes drama, and deeper dives into dart's biggest talking points, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a throw.